Welcome to the Healing Heart podcast, where all healing is always a matter of the heart. I'm your host, Donna Campbell, also known as the Mind Whisperer, interviewing guest experts on all matters of healing. Welcome back, everybody, to the Healing Heart podcast, and I am your host, Donna Campbell. My amazing guest today is Annie Bryceson. She is not only a healer, but she is also a psychic and medium. For over 25 years, she has studied and practiced energy and alternative healing modalities. She currently has a practice that does individual private one-on-one sessions to help people achieve their goals, whether it's better health, shifting careers, creating abundance, or even just helping create happy relationships in your life. Now, Annie's main goal is to really help you create a life that you love. So her practice includes teaching classes, specializing in helping her students learn how to use their intuition and feeling more empowered. She loves to help other empaths understand what it is that they are feeling. And so one of her favorite tools she teaches is the Empaths flowchart. So giving others a way to understand what it is that they are feeling and solutions to clear it. So welcome to the podcast, Annie.
Hi, Donna. Thank you for having me on today.
Yes. So I'm really excited here because I know we're going to talk into some of the topics around healing your empath and what does that really mean. But before we get into any of that, share us a little bit about your story, how you got into being a healer, a psychic, a medium. Share us with us how you got there.
Yes. Okay. So it started out when I was young and back then I didn't know what was going on. But what happened when I was younger, I had a lot of stomach issues. And my parents were great. They took me to the doctor. They tried to help me figure out what was going on, and we never could find a solution. But when I got into my early 20s is when it really hit me hard. I got super sick, really sick. I lost 30 pounds in 2 months and I couldn't keep anything in me. And I saw 5 different specialists. And finally, the last guy sat down with me and said, "Hey, look, we have done every test we could possibly do on you. I can see that you're not okay, but all your tests show that you're perfectly healthy." And I left there very upset and confused, but it was what really projected me towards my journey here of learning. I knew there had to be something out there that could help me. So I started studying everything I could on healing and all the modalities out there and what people were doing to try to heal when they couldn't get an answer from just their regular doctor. And that's kind of what started it for me. And then I just kind of became obsessed because it was so much fun.
So as you were studying the different modalities, as you were learning everything, and how did you overcome that health challenge? And what did you learn about yourself?
Oh, yes. Yeah. It was really interesting. So what I found out about myself was that I was more psychic than I realized, and that I was feeling energy. And when I looked back at my life as a younger child, I realized that I was picking up on people's pain around me, whether it be emotional or physical. I could feel something going on. And what I was doing is I was internalizing that. And what I discovered was my stomach was kind of my barometer. It was telling me what was going on, but I didn't know that. So when I learned tools to take energy and release it from me, I was able to heal myself. And, I had to shift some things in my life too. I learned, I was in a relationship I shouldn't be in. I was in a job I wasn't happy in. I wasn't really living my life's purpose. And when I started to learn these other modalities, it kind of put me on the right path. And my stomach was able to heal, and I was able to learn what it was that my body was trying to tell me. So it's really great when you really understand your body. It makes things so much easier.
Yes, absolutely. With that. And I wanted to share that with our listening audience because I know there are so many different people out there that are so incredibly empathic, but yet have all of these different body functions going on. So then we think something's physically wrong, but really it's just a lot of energy we have absorbed that got stuck in our own body as well.
It is. It's really scary. It's really scary when we're taught that, oh, if you're feeling it, it's yours, something's wrong with you. And, but there's other reasons that stuff could be happening, and you just have to know what those tools are to move through it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of the tools that you learned for you? Because this is like a silver lining gift as well, that you got, your intuition, the psychic, you can, the healing side of things, which is a silver lining gift. So what are some of those tools that you use that you can share for others?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So I just feel like I kind of need to be honest for anybody out there. When I first had this happen, it was very overwhelming and I didn't want it. I tried to shut it off. I tried to say, okay, how can I stop being intuitive? How can I stop feeling? But I learned that if I just embraced it and went with the flow, it was so much easier. But there are really great tools out there that can help you move through all of this. And one thing that I discovered that was really helpful for me is I use what I call the Empaths flow chart. And how this came about is I have 2 younger sons and they're sensitive to energy too. So I wanted to make sure they grew up and they knew that they didn't have to suffer with this in any way. And one night, my son came to me very upset. He was crying. He said, I don't know what's wrong. Can you just clear me, Mom? And so I scanned into his body and I could feel that he had a friend's energy on him. And we cleared it off and I told him what was going on and he confirmed, oh my gosh, yes, I was talking to her earlier. This amazing friend of his had a bad fight with her mom. She was very upset. And my son, just talking to her, had absorbed that sadness. And I said, just out of curiosity, how did she feel afterwards? And he said, well, after we talked, she felt fine. But he came home, and this is like 4 hours later, was still feeling upset and icky. So I cleared him and he said to me, how did you do that? How did you know it wasn't mine? What am I supposed to do? And we sat down at the kitchen table. I pulled out a piece of paper and I said, well, here's what I do. And I started making a flow chart of, okay, here's your first question. And then depending on yes or no, this is where you go. And this is how you figure out what it is. And he was really excited about it. It made sense to him. And afterwards I realized, wow, this is fantastic for my clients. I've got to show my clients this so they have those tools and resources of what they can do to shift, to change that energy. Yeah.
Perfect. So like your son, he didn't know that he had taken on another person's set of emotions and feelings. And yes, we have the flow chart to understand and identify. But if you don't have that particular tool, and if you're very empathic, how do you know if what you're feeling is really yours or somebody else's? How do you have that discernment?
Yeah, that is a wonderful question. So here's the first thing I do. What I tell everybody to do is it's really important that the very first thing is you connect to the light. And if you're new to all of this, it can be just as simple as you visualizing going up above the clouds, grabbing a hold of a golden light and bringing it down in through your body. So it's really important to connect to some light because it just kind of also helps bring in some peace. I also have my clients try to take 10 deep breaths to just kind of help them feel centered, because sometimes when we're hurting or feeling funny, it can make us feel very anxious at times. So I have them take some breaths too. And then what is the next thing I have people practice is you need a way to ask some yes or no questions, a tool. So you can do that with either a pendulum, and if you haven't gotten one, they're really easy to use. Or you can do muscle testing if you know how to muscle test for a yes or no question. And so you have to have a tool to kind of get a yes or no answer. And then what I do is I tell everybody, you take that uncomfortable feeling or pain and kind of say out loud, okay, I'm angry, I'm feeling super sad and I want to cry. Or is it your shoulder? Is your shoulder in pain? Or is it your headache? I want them to name it out loud, what it is that they're feeling. And the very first question on my flow chart is, is this mine or is this somebody else's? And that's where I start with, because because what I feel like is, depending on, is it something that you need to heal, or is it something that you picked up? And it really, I think that being the first question, if you know that's not your energy you're feeling, it's almost like, oh, thank goodness. Oh, thank goodness I'm not getting sick. Oh, thank goodness this migraine is not going to last all day and bug me. You know, it's somebody else's. And that's such a relief just to know that. Or if it's yours, you know, either way. And it gives you clarity right from the beginning of what you need to do. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely there. Because in a way, it's almost like giving yourself permission, but yet acceptance at the same time that it may or may not be yours, and it's okay to feel it, and it's okay not to feel it.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. That's what I think. A lot of the people that I speak with, and my students and clients, is it's just that fear of having pain and not knowing what to do with it that causes so much emotional distress, you know? And so I want them to be able to say, okay, we gotta wait. We gotta plan. This is what we do. It's mine. This is what I do. Or it's somebody else's. This is how I clear it.
Perfect. All right, everybody, we are here at the Healing Heart podcast, and we are talking to Annie Bryceson about healing your empath. We're going to take a quick break for our sponsor, and we'll be right back. Get what you always wanted. Abundant life is possible. Transform your lifestyle in just weeks with the most innovative system developed for heart-centered business professionals who seek change today. You are one step away from creating infinite prosperity, happiness, and love. Grab your bonus link now that's in the show notes. Welcome back here to the Healing Heart podcast. And my guest today is Annie Bryceson. And we are talking about healing your empath and how to get some of those results. So what I'm really curious about, Annie, is that we've been talking about the client, the customer journey, the different processes that you use. When you look at your clients, is there a commonality of certain energies that people hold on to?
Oh, that is a great question. Yeah, yes. Especially when you're an empath and you're feeling everybody around you. Most empaths are light workers, and they want to help people a lot. You know, we're sensitive, we're caring people, we want to help people. We don't want to see anybody ever hurt. And so it's just almost subconscious. If someone is around us and they're not feeling okay, we want to reach out and help them. And unconsciously, we don't know, we end up taking that sadness for them and holding on to it so they can feel better about what's going on, you know?
So it's almost like you're an energetic psychic vacuum cleaner, cleaning up from everybody around so that they can be better, right?
Yes, absolutely. You just, yeah. And, you know, I think it's also a little bit human nature, because we've all been there. Whether you're an empath or not, you know, say your partner comes home and they've had a bad day from work. They throw their keys on the table and they come into the room and they're like, oh my gosh. And you know, they're angry and you're like, what happened? And so they start telling you, oh, I'm so angry. My boss did this to me today and embarrassed me in front of everybody. And I just so mad. And if you're listening to the story, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened to you. Whenever you care about someone, you get upset with them. You want to fix it for them. You want to help them. But what that can do is you can end up taking on their pain and their anger. And really, we can't fix it for them. We can't actually go out and I can't go and yell at the boss for them. That's not okay. But if we absorb that energy, so what happens is your partner feels better because they went and told you all about their bad day and they feel good. They unconsciously dumped their frustrations on you. And then you can walk around wearing those. And those emotions that we carry for someone else when they're not ours, I think when it's not our energy we're carrying, it almost feels heavier. It almost feels worse.
Mm-hmm.
because it's not ours to process. And so it can really weigh us down, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Do you find or see certain people who resonate to certain types of energy, like certain types of clients? They're really more tuned to bring in like anxiety and fear into their body, and other types of personalities might bring in more grief and sadness, and others might be more anger and frustration, or is it just kind of like a free for all?
Yeah, that's a great question. I work with a lot of clients with anxiety. So I really see a lot of people that have anxiety and worry and fear. And I have noticed that when um, someone resonates with something, so, okay, for example, how they grew up and what they feel. If someone grew up and had a lot of anger and resentment because maybe their father was very violent towards them and they feel angry for what happened to them, and they may be empathic, and what I notice is they tend to attract other people that are also angry, and then they end up pulling that in and carrying that as well.
Mhm.
Or if you grew up a little bit more anxious,
Mhm.
and that's just, it's almost like you just naturally grew up that way, you know what it feels like, so you feel other people who are anxious around you, and we don't want anybody to hurt, so we kind of pull in their energy too. So I've noticed it's kind of how what you grew up with. What did you notice? What were you as a child? What are your strongest emotions that you feel
Mhm.
on a daily basis? Because my clients tend to attract that type of energy around them as well too.
Mhm. Interesting. Really, really interesting that it really goes back to our childhood, to how things were back then.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know that when we're growing up, especially from ages 0 to 7, our brains are really, we're sponges, we're absorbing everything around us,
Mhm.
and we're learning how to be a person. So
Mhm.
we're absorbing not only the what we're told, but even the thoughts and the emotions of our caregivers and parents. We're absorbing what their beliefs are.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely there. So one of the things that you do is specializing in helping students, clients learn how to use their intuition and feel more empowered. What is your favorite way of helping others to really recognize their intuition?
Oh, I love it. Those are my funnest classes.
They are fun.
Yeah, it's just fun because everybody gets together and there's always an energy of laughter and play and fun. And I really, so what I do is I want to make sure everybody first knows yes or no questions. That's the first thing I teach, is I want everybody to have a way to ask questions and actually get some answers. And my favorite I like to use with people is pendulums,
Mhm.
because for someone who's never touched a pendulum, when they pick it up and it starts to move in a yes or no direction for them, they're
Mhm.
always, how did I do that? What happened? What made that move? And so I love to explain to everybody, there is a natural current that runs through our
Yes.
body. And what it does is it really creates some polarities where you can get a yes or no in your body. Just like universally, we shake, almost everybody in the world, you shake your head for yes, no matter what
Mhm.
culture you're in, or you shake your head no. There's just this universal body language that we know. And that current that comes in and flows through us can come through your pendulums, and it also through your muscle testing. So if you want to test with your
Mhm.
muscles, there's a current that will show you a yes or no as well. But I love it when someone picks up the pendulum and they're like, what's going on here? How did I do that? They just from
Mhm.
right there feel empowered that, okay, I can do this too.
Mhm. Absolutely there. Absolutely. And that is so true with the whole pendulum, especially. And then there's some that like hold the pendulum and they're like, it's not moving. It's not going anywhere. It's not doing anything. What happens there if it doesn't pick up the current of the energy of the person
Oh,
that it's
that
reading?
yes, that is a great question. I did have that happen in one of my lectures. I had a woman wasn't able to get it going. So what I did is I quickly scanned her. But if you're at home and you're trying this yourself and it's not working, what I always tell everybody is stop, bring in more light. Just visualize as much light pouring in as pouring in you, and just take a second, allow that light to come in. And it's okay if you don't even feel it, just imagine it coming in, and then try again. And then if it still doesn't work, what I have people do is I do the zip up technique. I have them imagine grabbing the energy down by their hips and just pulling it all the way up. And that tends to reset all the chakras too. It kind of like, okay, we're rebalanced and here we go. And then I have them try again. And usually those two things get it working right away, get the pendulum moving.
Nice, nice, nice. So for people that are listening out here to this podcast here today, and they are wondering, are they just taking on other people's energy? Are they empathic? What would be the very best piece of advice that you have for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, I want to tell everybody, if you're in that place and you're feeling something and it feels like it's never going to go away, I want to tell you there are solutions, there are options out there. You can find the help. Where we all have an inner knowing, our intuition. And when we start to really listen to that, it's going to guide us to where we need to go and what we need to do. But if you're wondering, gosh, you're sitting there thinking, I wonder if what I'm feeling is somebody else's. First thing, connect to the light, bring in some light, whichever way feels best for you, and just ask the question, is this mine or somebody else's? And just start there and notice what you notice. And even if you don't hear an answer right away, even if you're not sure, your intuition's going to guide you to the answer. It might be all of a sudden 5 minutes later, you have an aha, oh my gosh, I was talking to my best friend and I forgot that she said she was really angry today. But just sit with it for a few minutes and just notice what you notice. What do you get? What is your body trying to show you? And that's how I would start with that.
Perfect there. So I know there's a lot of people out there listening. How do they get in touch with you if they want to start looking at and healing their empath? What's the best way?
Yes. Yeah. If you want to learn more, you can go to my website, which is anniebryceson.com. You can also follow me on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter under Annie Bryceson as well. And my email is also annie.bryceson@gmail.com. So you can send me some messages if you have questions, and I'd love to talk to you and follow up and see how I can help you.
All right, perfect. All right, everybody reach out to Annie Bryceson. It's amazing. It's been fun. I've known her throughout the years, her own transformation. So I know it's the real deal, and she will help you identify all of those stuck emotions, if they're yours, if they're somebody else's, what to do with it, and really start restoring your body back to that optimal health and that state of beingness so you can really go live that life that you love. So reach out to Annie. All of that information is going to be in the show notes as well, so you can click on those links. And Annie, thank you so much for being a guest here with us today on the Healing Heart Podcast.
Thank you so much, Donna. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. And for everybody else out there listening, just go create the rest of your day a beautiful day.